I've been trying to get to the bottom of this for weeks, and I think the problem is the NFL doesn't really want to talk about it because they don't want it to be a story, because they'd rather it not be covered. Because if it's covered too much, then they have to put the guy on paid leave. And that's what paid leave is there for, to have a guy that you otherwise would be talking about not around to be talked about. The Rashee Rice incident, the 8 felony charges flowing from the street racing video that we've seen many times. It happened in late March. He's facing those charges. The case is moving forward. A couple of weeks ago, I was trying to figure out, is he going to be on the field week 1? Well, we'll assess the situation under the personal conduct policy after the legal process is concluded. But fine, are you going to use the Commissioner exempt list? Because it's right there in the personal conduct policy. If you're facing felony charges, you can be put on paid leave. And he's facing 8 of them. And they never give a clear answer. And yesterday there was a conference call with reporters, and it was all on the record. I'm not talking out of school here. And they were trying to be evasive about it. They were trying to not answer the question about whether or not he's going to be put on paid leave. And finally they did, with a cleanup on aisle 5 that they swooped in at the end of the call and acknowledged they won't be putting him on paid leave, barring a material change in his case. They finally gave us an answer to the question. People need to know if the guy's going to play or not. I had written multiple times, and our story from 2.5 weeks ago apparently was ignored because the same damn thing was reported by the Washington Post 2 days ago. The exact same thing we reported 2.5 weeks ago. They're going to wait until the case is over, and then they'll review it under the personal conduct policy. And if he would have been put on paid leave, it was going to happen already. Look how quick Mike Hall Jr. of the Browns got put on paid leave because of a domestic violence case. That's the key. It's not domestic violence. You're far less likely to be put on paid leave. If you're accused of domestic violence, felony or misdemeanor, you're far more likely to be put on paid leave.
Well, and he was lucky, Mike, that nobody died in the wreck that he caused, because then I think he would also be on paid leave if that had happened. But fortunately, no one was killed in that wreck that he caused here in Dallas. So
yes, but and I'm sorry to interrupt you. We heard them yesterday talking about the hip drop tackle and how they're trying to remove the behavior from the game.
Yep.
The behavior is the problem, not the outcome.
Absolutely.
Because, you play Russian roulette and you only shoot yourself in the head 1 out of 6 times. The other 5 times, no harm, no foul. What the hell are you doing playing Russian roulette? And you're playing Russian roulette when you're driving like that with somebody else's life. So the fact that he got lucky shouldn't change how the NFL feels about it or anyone else. That's where the disconnect is here, and that's what bugs me about this. He should be on paid leave. That video is horrifying.
Awful.
When you see it. And he just got lucky that nobody got killed. So they finally have given us an answer. Finally, Rashee Rice, barring a material change between now and Thursday, we'll see him playing for the Chiefs against the Ravens to start the season.
Well, and that's good for the Chiefs that he's going to be out there. He will be suspended at some point. I would bet my next paycheck on that. He's going to be suspended. The question is when. And it's, court cases take a while and the investigations take a while. So it's going to be a while, probably be into next season. But the Chiefs will have him this season. They need him after Hollywood Brown's injury. He did become their number 1 receiver last year, 79 catches, almost 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. And they've improved that receiving core. And part of the reason they improved that receiving core was not knowing his status at the time. So they went out and said, we're going to get better at receiver. And they are. They've got a much better receiving core, and they would be able to absorb his absence much better. But they do have him now, Mike. So that's good for the Chiefs that Patrick Mahomes has Rashee Rice to start the season and probably for the entire season.
The better you are, the more tolerant a team will be with some missteps. And the Chiefs regard Rashee Rice as a guy that when he goes back to Dallas, he gets around friends that influence him in a way that isn't productive for anyone. There was the other incident that ultimately didn't result in anything because remember it was a photographer who was at a bar and there was an altercation and charges were pressed, but then they were dropped. But, the Chiefs love this guy because when he's not in Dallas, they view him as a different human being altogether. And he went in there last year and he figured out the offense faster than Tyreek Hill did as a rookie. Remember, Tyreek Hill's rookie season, he made most of his waves in the return game, not as a core part of the offense. Rashee Rice figured it out. He had almost 1,000 yards. He got better in the postseason. This is a guy that could really take off this year. That's one of the reasons why they're behind him, because he really is the best option they have to become what Tyreek Hill was for the Chiefs offense. And it probably won't be until next year that he's suspended, and we'll see how this all plays out. And, the reality that no one got seriously injured or killed will probably buy him some lenience at some level, even if it shouldn't, because the behavior is what needs to be addressed. But you're right. It'll be this time next year as the Chiefs are getting ready to host the opening game because they've won their third Super Bowl in a row that we're talking about the number of games that Rashee Rice is missing because of the March 2024 incident.
Yeah, and these things are never resolved quickly, and this one wasn't resolved quickly and won't be resolved quickly. So I expect them to have him for the entire season, and I think the Chiefs probably expect to have him for the entire season. So that's good for them for this season, and they'll take that into account in the offseason when they start again managing what they need to add in either free agency or the draft. They'll probably be looking at the receiver position, knowing that Rashee Rice is going to have to have some kind of suspension that he's going to have to serve. So, but for this year, Mike, they have him. That receiver core is upgraded. I stupidly thought 2 years ago the receivers would be the detriment of this team, and they had no chance even to make the playoffs, much less the Super Bowl. And last year I was like, oh, they can't win the Super Bowl again. That receiver core still isn't good enough. Well, guess what? Patrick Mahomes is good enough. So whoever you give him at receiver, just like what the Patriots did with Tom Brady for years, aside from Randy Moss, whoever you give him at receiver is good enough because he's good enough.
Hey, look, the team has no chance to make it to the playoffs blowing up in your face. That's my move. Don't take my move. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.